Good morning, guys, and welcome back to NMB Global, where today we will be taking a flight from London Stansted Airport to Milan Malpensa on an extreme day trip with Ryanair. It's currently 4:15 in the morning. We're going to be heading to the airport now. We're going to see whether we face any challenges with the airport, how long it's going to take us, and how much time we'll really have on an extreme day trip to explore the city. Come with us. So please do excuse how tired I was in that first clip. I wasn't really with it. We had been up since 3 o'clock this morning, ready to leave at 4:15. The journey time to Stansted from where we live is just under an hour, which isn't too bad considering our normal journey time to Gatwick and Heathrow is quite a bit longer. So here we are, just arriving at Stansted Airport. Our flight is at 7:30 this morning and we arrived at around 5:30, which we thought would be plenty of time. We were parking at the Stansted Airport short stay in the blue zone today, which is nice because we only had a short walk over to the terminal instead of having to catch a bus. So we parked up the car, and this was me just taking a mental note that we were in the Royal Zone, row 7, so that I didn't forget later on when we were really tired. So we took the walk over to the terminal, which, as I said, is around 5 to 10 minutes. Not too bad, but the weather was a bit grim this morning, so we were quite eager to get inside. So once we actually arrived into the terminal, we headed straight over to security. We arrived at 5:30 thinking that we had plenty of time till our flight with 2 hours to go. However, we did start to get a bit panicky when we realised the queue was absolutely huge. Luckily, it only took around 20 minutes. We then walked through duty free and headed straight over to Wetherspoons, which is a morning ritual when flying out of Stansted. We were both starving at this point, so we wanted to get some fuel ready for our long day ahead. Spoons wasn't too bad this morning. Normally it can be quite busy and difficult to get a table. We did manage to find one quite easily, and I did have an obligatory Copperberg, which has to be done. I then realised I forgot to show you what our breakfast looked like, but I'm sure you're all aware of a classic Wetherspoons breakfast. I had the muffin and my partner had the large breakfast, which was very nice. So at 6:40, our gate was then announced on the board. It was gate 40 something, I can't remember exactly now, but we didn't have to get the train. It was just a walk over to the gate. Quite a long walk at that, so do be prepared. Don't sit around waiting too long for the gates close. And we headed straight over there as soon as it came up because we knew that it could be quite the trek. We were actually tracking our plane's progress on flight radar. We saw that it hadn't actually landed at Stansted yet, and it was still sort of 10 minutes away from landing, but we did only have a short wait before boarding commenced. This is because Ryanair specifically obviously run on quick turnarounds, so they like to get people waiting in the jet bridge. As soon as the plane lands, the other people come off so that we can get straight on with no delays. We have actually paid to sit next to each other on this flight because I have a bit of a fear of flying and I wouldn't like to sit on my own, but we didn't pay for baggage or priority boarding or anything because obviously we were just going for the day. So just in the normal queue on the left hand side. We're now ready to board, so up the stairs. I believe Ryanair only use stairs. Luckily this morning it wasn't raining, so we didn't get wet. This lady here was snapping a few quick pics before getting on, and then it was time to go up. So although Ryanair is known to be a budget airline for its really cheap flights, I mean, I think sometimes you can get flights for like £10, but we did find that the legroom here was really impressive. As we've said in the previous videos before, my partner is 6'2", I'm 5'1", and we actually had so much room. This was row 8, and we did have someone sitting next to us, but it was absolutely fine, like no complaints at all. The plane we were flying on today was a 737-8200 MAX, which was a fresh new plane, and it was very nice. And it appeared to be a full flight as it was very busy on board this morning. However, boarding was completed quite quickly and we began our pushback from Stansted from Satellite 3 with a short taxi out. The captain advised the flight time today would be approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes, landing at 10:35 Milan time, and it was around 7:45 that we did eventually take off, which is fine, it's not too bad. We had both never done an extreme day trip together before, so we didn't really know what to expect in terms of challenges that we might face. And at this point, we did acknowledge that we had been very lucky that we hadn't faced any of those challenges, because a lot of things could have gone wrong with this outbound journey that would have really affected the day that we had in Milan. With a return flight booked for 9:30 tonight, if this flight would have been delayed or even cancelled, it would have really impacted the time that we had spent there. So when booking an extreme day trip like this, it is important to understand the risk that can be associated with it and to not be disappointed if things do go wrong. And here we are taking off away from a miserable London Stansted, heading over to Milan Malpensa. I'll let you enjoy this clip of us taking off, but if you're not really interested, then skip forward about a minute and head on to the next part. Well, there wasn't actually much to see there because it seemed to be all cloud. But we've finally broken through that cloud and we are above, looking into the beautiful sunshine. Something we don't get to see very often in the UK. Once we were up in the air, service did begin quite quickly. One thing that we did notice before boarding, which was unusual, that Ryanair on the app, they push pre-ordering items from duty free and from the food menu. It's a notification that we had pop up quite a few times. Even though they did come round with the trolley, it didn't stay for very long at all. The flight was quite smooth with a little bit of turbulence, but one thing I will let you guys know about is the lady that was sat a few rows behind us. Now, I don't know for sure, but she definitely did appear absolutely hammered, and for 7:30 in the morning was quite unusual. She was very loud, she was shouting, she was using strange words and staggering back and forth from the toilet. So that was a bit weird for that time of the morning. Each to their own. So as I said before, the flight time was meant to be around 1 hour and 40 minutes, but we did start descending after only about 40 minutes in the air. The captain informed us that we'd be landing around 20 to 25 minutes early, which for an extreme day trip was an absolute bonus. So here we are landing into Milan Malpensa at around 10 past 10 in the morning. And overall, for a budget flight with a budget airline, we have absolutely no complaints about the experience that we've had on our outbound journey this morning. So we pulled into the area where the plane was parking today, where we needed to get a bus over to the terminal. At this point, we were thinking about our plan once we got through passport control. When we booked the trip, we had a look online at the different options on how to get into the city centre from the airport. Now, there were quite a few options, including the bus, private taxis and the train, but we did decide on the train because this was going to be the quickest and cheapest option for us both. The bus was waiting for us as soon as we got off the plane, so we hopped straight on and headed over to the terminal where we needed to go through passport control, luckily not baggage reclaim today. Obviously, landing into the EU as a British citizen, we needed to redo the biometrics, fingerprints and all that stuff. Even though we've already done it before, turns out we need to do it every single time. And today it was actually really busy, so I can't imagine what it's going to be like in the summer. And unfortunately, because we weren't staying overnight, it wouldn't let us use the e-gates either, so we had to go and get a stamp from the actual people in the booths. But to be honest, this whole process probably only took around 20 minutes, and then we headed over to find where we needed to catch the train into Milan city centre. In between the train station and the airport, there was this lovely little room with the Olympic ring statue, and they were playing the Winter Olympics on the big screen as well, as when we went to Milan today, the Winter Olympics were currently on. We found the train station and where we needed to buy our ticket. There was an option to do it on a machine or to go inside and buy it from someone. We decided to go inside as the line was shorter and we thought it was a safer option, as we wasn't 100% sure what ticket we needed to get into the city. The lady recommended that we get the train into Milan Cordona, I might be wrong there, rather than Milan Central, as it was actually closer to the things that we wanted to do while we were there. The trains come around every 30 minutes and we only had around 10 minutes to wait until the next one. The train on board was actually really nice. Obviously, by this point, we'd been up for quite a few hours, so our phones were lacking in charge, but there was chargers available to use on the train. Our tickets did get checked, so make sure you do buy one. And here we are, just pulling into Milan Cordona, I'm not really too sure. We got a return ticket because we needed to get back later, and they were €25 per person. As soon as you come out the train station, you see this beautiful castle. Headed across the road, that was the Olympic Village, I think, which we had a little look around as well. And we kept seeing these cute little trams that were like really old school. Love them. We then headed straight for an essential Starbucks stop, as my partner is addicted to drinking coffee. This one was the Starbucks Reserve Roastery, which was really cool inside. They had loads of merch that you could buy. And my partner got a t-shirt and a really nice mug. So yeah, this was a very cool place to visit if you're in Milan. On our list today, we prioritise hitting the main tourist attractions, as you do. So at this point, we headed over to what I think is called the Duomo. This was very impressive. You have to see this if you do come. And next to the Duomo was the Olympic Megastore. There was quite a long wait to get into the Megastore, but we did do this, and it took around 45 minutes because there was a few little bits we wanted to buy as collectibles. We then had a little wander around to try and find some lunch, as we had gotten into Milan at around 12 o'clock, so we were hungry again, surprisingly. Insert picture here. An unreal carbonara and lasagna. Of course, what else would you get in Italy? We had a wander around what I think is called the Galleria. We found the flagship store for a coffee shop, so we sat down and had another little break in there. And 25,000 steps later, it was time to head back to the airport. Now, we probably did do this a little bit prematurely, but our feet were so tired because I didn't film all the clips of everything that we did today, because obviously there was just a lot of walking around, a lot of stopping and seeing things. But we decided to head back a bit early just so we could go and sit down because our feet were absolutely killing. The train was already waiting on platform 1, so we jumped straight on, and 5 to 10 minutes later we were off back to Milan Malpensa. The train journey, as I said, takes around 40 minutes, so we arrived at the airport at 6:10. Back past the Olympic rings and into the terminal. Now yes, we did get to the airport over 3 hours before our flight was due to take off back to Stansted. But we had felt like we had seen enough, done enough, and had a really great day. So we weren't disappointed that we'd missed out on the last couple of hours. Obviously, we were doing an extreme day trip, so if you wanted to, you could probably stay in the city centre a bit longer. Just depends how much you feel like you can get done. Because we were here so early, my partner did really want to go into one of the lounges, but it was €40 a person, so I didn't think it would be worth it. We got some more food, a couple of slices of pizza, which I'll show you now. This was a carbonara pizza, absolutely unreal. And then eventually it was time to head to the gate ready for boarding. There's not really too much to say about our flight home. It left pretty much on time and we got back to Stansted at about 11 o'clock, so it was a really long day. The only negative thing is it was absolutely chucking it down, and as you can see here, we were waiting outside for quite a while in the rain before we could actually board. So I think now would be a perfect time to sum up the extreme day trip on whether we think it was worth it or not. I think if you're on a budget, it is absolutely perfect because it means you don't have to pay out for a hotel. You can get quite a lot done providing that your flights are on time and you don't face any challenges, delays or cancellations. Obviously it's really tiring, but I would definitely do an extreme day trip again. The flights were around £30 return per person and obviously cost a little bit more to select our seats, which we did do. But once you're there, you can make it as cheap or expensive as your budget allows. So apologies there was no footage of us landing here at Stansted. The fog was so bad that we all had to turn our phones off because the captain requested us to do so because he was going to have to land in autopilot. So we're on our way back to the car, ready to drive home, and that was our extreme day trip, all done and dusted. I hope you guys enjoyed and got some tips and tricks on what to do, and let us know whether you are going to do an extreme day trip and let us know where you go. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.